Hello everyone and welcome back to Age of Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. Now, in this video of the Age of Sigmar army archive, the army we'll be looking at is the Ironjawz, and in specifically their lore. So firstly, we're just going to have a quick look at what they were like back in Fantasy, as they were essentially based off the Black Orc models that are now the Ardboys, and I'll show a picture on the screen now so you can see what they were like. I'm sure you guys recognise them. And basically, these guys were made by the Chaos Dwarves of the Warhammer Fantasy, and in specifically, they had one more big brutish than the rest, and this was Grimgor Ironhide, who was safely said one of the most flavourful and colourful characters of Warhammer Fantasy. Now, I'm not going to go into much detail about him, just because there's loads of videos already on YouTube if you really want to know about him, but just to know, he's one of probably my favourite characters on the world that was, just because basically there's a part where he tries to invade a place called Kislev, and whilst on trying to invade that part, the Kislev send a magical like storm towards him. I think it's a snowstorm, and Grimgor decides to, instead of trying to maybe attack somewhere else where they haven't manipulated the weather around them, he decides to try and sneak up and ambush this storm, which, don't want to spoil anything, but does not go to his plan. So that's just a little bit of information about him, which, if like I said, if you want to go check him out more details, there's plenty of videos out there for him. But essentially, him and these Black Orcs were what have inspired the Ironjawz on. And if you look at them now, I mean, like the Black Orcs, which are now the Ardboys, they are really quite small, like model-wise, compared to the rest of the Ironjawz, which really shows just how far the Ironjawz have came. And yes, like I said, that's a bit about them in the fantasy. They sort of work around quite a bit of the old world, mainly in the Badlands, where they were, which is basically sort of like desert wasteland, just south of the Dwarfs actually, which we were talking about in the last video. And before we go into what they're like in Age of Sigmar, just to make sure you guys are aware of why orcs are just awesome, and in case you don't know this already, it's because the orc mentality works along the lines of, if enough orcs believe in something, it is true. And this is a good example would be the Savage Orcs, the war paint they put on them. And when I say Savage Orcs, I mean, Bone Splitters in Age of Sigmar. The war paint they put on them gives them, that ward save, gives them that, like death save, purely because they believe it protects them. So if the orcs stop believing that the war paint protects them, then they die. There's nothing really special about the war paint, it's just they believe in it, so it works. Contrast to tribal warfare, back when we were still hitting each other with sticks. Back then when we put on war paint because we thought it would protect us, our reality didn't really work along those lines, so it didn't really work. However, for the orcs, it's all good. Some other things for the orcs though, it's like, if they paint things different colours, makes them have better attributes. That really doesn't really come through in the game in Age of Sigmar, but it sort of is in the lore. And then of course, a standard orc might not be as smart as a human. However, it doesn't really require too much intelligence for them to smash one of their crude manufactured axes into your skull. So yes, that is why the orcs are awesome. Maybe I'll do a longer video on talking about how orcs work and stuff in Age of Sigmar for a later date. And also, another thing that makes orcs good is that, just in case you didn't know, they are actually a variation of mushrooms. So yes, and that is true as well. Okay, and then going into Age of Sigmar and going into what the Ironjawz exactly are, because remember, the Ironjawz are an Age of Sigmar army. They weren't a fantasy army. Yes, I said they had, like the Ardboys, which back then were called the Black Orcs, but this is a whole army that's really just stemmed from that one box set of models. So it's really a brand new Age of Sigmar army. Now, in Age of Sigmar, the Ironjawz, crashing and clanking steel, guttural bellows announce the arrival of Ironjaw war clans, these brutish orcs, and the biggest and fiercest of all their kind in a savage society where might makes right is the only rule. Their size and strength makes them leaders of city-wrecking invasions in every realm. For all their savagery, the Ironjawz are not stupid. They favour thick iron plates armoured with spikes and other utty bits, not only to protect them from blades of the enemy, when they crash into the midst of the foe, but also to ensure every kick, knee, shoulder barge and stomp hits home with flesh and mangling force. They usually command their garrote lackeys to paint their armour the bright colours of their tribe, for there is nothing worse than committing a spectacular display of carnage that no one can see. Should the massacre be impressive enough, they may even earn a rumble of approval from Gorka Morka himself as he looks down from his tempestuous skies. The largest portion of the Ironjawz tribes are known as the Ardboys, marching to war in great throngs that are literally armed to the teeth with a variety of bashers and choppers. The larger Ironjawz are called brutes, keen to get to the front line as fast as possible. Some will bully beasts into bearing them into battle, adding to their killing power. A common tactic is to batter a boar-like grunter into submission, so often that it ceases its attempts to disembowel its would-be rider for a few moments by jumping fully armed on top these hideous boar creatures and steering them with jabs from their jagged knee plates. The Ironjawz force the foul-tempered monsters to become their steeds. A rampaging herd of pig-headed gore grunters cavalry can storm through even a shield wall of Stormcast Liberators. Their sheer mass in muscle and beaten iron means that with sufficient run-up they hit home with the force of an avalanche. The fiercest of Orc war leaders are known as megabosses, for the title of boss hardly does them justice. 10-foot tall killer machines that wield big iron axes heavy enough to fell a Gorgon. These green-skinned terrors are famous for their explosions of apocalyptic fury. Each wields a ton in his armour and would likely break the back of a grunter should he try to ride one. Instead, megabosses go one step further and make the hulking beasts known as Maw Crushers their steeds, chaining themselves to the iron-hard scales of the thuggish half-drakes so they can ride to war upon their back and still have both hands free for when the killing starts. The combination proves all that unstoppable, for a Maw Crusher is so massive it considers even the 10-foot ogre of Gur a light snack. The megaboss rider roars in fierce exultation as his steed bows across the battlefield with a looping gorilla-like charge. Nothing is safe when the Maw Crusher is on a rampage, capable of short bursts of flight when its prey tries to evade. The beast's giant fists can pound flat even a cavalry of chaos, slamming down with the force of falling boulders as their crocodilian jaws gash and bite. Small wonder that whole hosts of Ironjawz will follow a war leader powerful enough to bind such creature to his service. Ironjawz are more military minded than other Uruks, and their leaders will often exploit their racist tendencies for tribal grouping in times of war. Each gathering of Uruk brutes is known as a mob, and rightly so, and given their unruly and destructive behaviour, these mobs are gathered into groups of 5 armoured, a particular strong leader, each grouping known as a fist. There are many kinds of these groupings. A weird fist, for example, will gather around one of the tribe's weird knob shamans, the better to be near the rampaging energies of destruction he channels, whereas an Ard fist gathers around a war chanter, the better to revel in the fierce greenskin battle songs and the invocation energies of the Waaagh. When any 5 fists gather together, the Ironjawz call the armoured throng a brawl. This simple terminology, based around the notion of punching each other in the face, appeals to the Ironjawz across the mortal realms, not least because many of them find counting higher than 5 on their hand a rather confusing concept. Some say the largest Waaagh are so huge that they need another set of numbers entirely. The fabled megaboss Gordrak, known as the Fist of Gork, has a Waaagh so large he makes use of all the numbers up to 10, a formidable feat for an according a Gore legend. 7, 8, 9. In truth, Greenskins do not worry about counting as soon as their armoured throngs reaches a critical mass of violence when they gave enough axes and mules at their disposal to hack down an entire Sylvaneth wargrove or smash apart a dispossessed fortress through sheer brute force. The only thing the Ironjawz truly care about is the crash and tumult of violence itself. And then that is a nice summary of what the Ironjawz are in Age of Sigmar. Now, I do have the battle tome, so I could go through that and read like all the individual bits of lore. However, if you check out, I've mentioned before as well, good YouTube channel, 2+ Tough, he has gone into the lore of like lots of individual bits of the Ironjawz. And in this video, I wanted to keep it a bit quite compact and just sort of give a brief overview and just sort of mention the units they have essentially. So this has been the lore video. Like I said, it's a bit short, but like I say, I want it to be quite compact to be able to get through as many of these armies as I can, to be able to really build up this army archive. It's really what I want to do. And the Ironjawz have got to be one of my favourite armies there are out there in Age of Sigmar. I even played them for a little bit. I only had like a 1,000 point army, but it was basically just brutes and a mega boss and a weird knob, and it was really, really fun. Honestly, some of the funnest games I had playing with the Ironjawz, as they were just so awesome. The rules were so fun as well, and just can't beat playing them. And there's something so nice about playing an army that literally just runs up and smashes you in the face, and there's no you know, they have tactics, but you know, it's not like, oh, I forgot to do this and here a phase of that and that. It's like, no, there's like a few things you have to do, and then right now move and charge and smack and kill. That's pretty much how the Ironjawz work. That's pretty much how they are in the lore as well. It's great to see how their lore translates into the army itself. We saw that with Dispossessed last week. It's great to see. We see that with the Ironjawz as well, and we're going to start to see that when we look at their army in the game as well. So now that we've done a lore video, naturally the next video is going to be about their legion ability, so look forward to going into that. And if you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and comment down below. As I always mention, that is the best thing you guys can do to me to help me be able to make as many videos as I can, as I really do rely on your support. And until next time, guys, thank you very much for watching this, and remember, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash. Waaagh!